They thought she was just an ordinary girl who couldn't afford an expensive wedding dress. They looked at her with contempt, threw her out of the store like a beggar. But they didn't know that the man she was about to marry could destroy their entire world with a single phone call. When Roman DeLuca walked through those doors, the boutique that had humiliated his fiancée learned what true fear felt like. This is a story about dignity, betrayal, and a love powerful enough to burn down empires. Stay with me until the end, hit like, and comment what city you're watching from so I can see how far this story travels.
The
morning Elena Marlowe decided to shop for her wedding dress alone, the sky over the city hung low and gray, heavy with the promise of rain that never seemed to come. She stood outside Maison Étoile, one of the most exclusive bridal boutiques in the state, staring at the gold-trimmed windows displaying gowns that looked like they belonged in museums rather than on actual human bodies. The building itself was all marble and glass, the kind of place that made you feel poor just by looking at it. Elena pulled her cardigan tighter around her shoulders. It was plain, cream-colored, something she'd owned for 3 years. Her jeans were clean but faded at the knees, and her flats had a scuff on the left toe she kept meaning to fix. She looked exactly like what she was, a woman who had worked her way through community college waiting tables, who still clipped coupons, who knew the price of milk at 4 different grocery stores. What she didn't look like was the future wife of Roman DeLuca. That was intentional. The appointment had been made under her name only. No mention of Roman, no dropping of the DeLuca name that could make grown men stammer and city officials return phone calls within minutes. Elena had insisted on it. When Roman asked why, she'd looked him straight in the eye and said, "Because I want a wedding that's about us, not about what you do." Roman had gone very still. He did that sometimes, got quiet in a way that made the air feel thinner. Then he touched her face with surprising gentleness and said, "They're going to treat you like shit, Elena. The world doesn't respect people who don't shove their power down its throat." "Then let them," she'd replied. "I'd rather know who people really are." Now standing outside Maison Étoile, she wondered if she'd been naive. She pushed through the heavy glass door. A small bell chimed, expensive and understated. The interior was exactly what she'd expected. White everywhere, crystal chandeliers, velvet furniture that looked too perfect to actually sit on. The air smelled like lilies and something else, something chemical and sweet that probably cost more per ounce than her monthly grocery budget. A woman approached from behind a marble desk. She was maybe 40, blonde, wearing a black dress that probably cost what Elena made in a month. Her smile was professional, but her eyes did a quick scan, top to bottom, that Elena felt like a physical touch. "Can I help you?" The question sounded polite. It wasn't. "I have an appointment," Elena said. 2 o'clock. Elena Marlowe. The woman's perfectly shaped eyebrows rose a fraction of an inch. She glanced at a tablet on the desk, tapped it twice. "Ah, yes, you're here for a consultation." The way she said consultation made it sound like charity work. "I'm here to find a wedding dress," Elena said evenly. "Of course." The woman's smile didn't reach her eyes. "I'm Diane. I'll be assisting you today." "Your guest hasn't arrived yet?" "My friend is meeting me here. She should be—" The door chimed again. Elena turned, relieved, as Sabrina walked in. Sabrina Chen had been Elena's friend since high school, back when they both worked at the same diner and split orders of fries to save money. They'd been through everything together, bad boyfriends, worse jobs. The year Elena's mother died and Sabrina slept on her couch for 2 weeks straight, just so Elena wouldn't be alone. When Elena met Roman, Sabrina was the first person she told, the first person she trusted with the truth about what Roman actually did for a living. Sabrina looked good today. She always looked good. Hair perfect, makeup perfect, wearing a red dress that hugged curves Elena had never quite managed to develop. She smiled when she saw Elena, but there was something in that smile Elena couldn't quite name. "Sorry I'm late," Sabrina said, kissing Elena's cheek. "Traffic was insane." "You're fine. We just got started." Diane looked between them, and Elena saw her reassess Sabrina the way she'd assessed Elena. Sabrina passed whatever internal test Diane was running. The smile Diane gave her was warmer. "Wonderful," Diane said. "Let me show you to our consultation suite." She led them through the showroom, past mannequins wearing gowns that seemed to glow under the careful lighting. Everything was white or ivory or champagne. Everything was lace and silk and beading that caught the light like captured stars. Elena felt something twist in her chest. Despite everything, despite the quiet condescension radiating off Diane like perfume, she wanted this. She wanted the dress, the moment, the normal girl experience of finding the perfect gown. The consultation suite was a large room with mirrors covering 3 walls and a circular platform in the center. Plush chairs lined one side. Diane gestured for them to sit. "So," Diane said, settling into a chair across from them with the tablet balanced on her knee. "Tell me about your vision." "I want something simple," Elena said. "Classic. Nothing too... What's your budget?" Elena hesitated. This was always the moment that separated people into categories, and she'd learned to read the shift in people's faces when she named a number that didn't meet their expectations. 5,000, she said. Diane's expression didn't change, but something happened behind her eyes. A door closing. "I see you," she said. "That's quite modest for Maison Étoile. Most of our gowns start at 8,000. "Your website said you had options starting at 4, Elena replied. "We do have a few pieces in that range," Diane said carefully. "Sample gowns mostly. Previous season. I should mention that we typically recommend our clients budget at least 10 to 15,000 to really get the full Maison Étoile experience." Sabrina shifted in her seat. Elena felt her friend's discomfort like a physical presence. "I understand," Elena said, "but I'd still like to see what you have in my price range." Diane stood. "Of course. Let me see what I can pull for you." She left the room. The moment the door closed behind her, Sabrina leaned over. "Elena," she said quietly, "why are we even here? You know Roman would pay for whatever you wanted. I don't want Roman to pay for it." "Why not? He's your fiancé. He's..." Sabrina stopped, choosing her words carefully. "He's wealthy." That was one word for it. Roman DeLuca controlled half the illegal operations in 3 states, owned politicians the way other people owned stocks, and had enough money hidden in accounts around the world that Elena had stopped trying to conceptualize the actual amount. Wealthy was technically accurate, the way saying the ocean was damp was technically accurate. "This is important to me," Elena said. "I want something that's mine, something I earned, but you're going to be his wife. What's his is going to be yours." "That's not the same thing." Sabrina sat back, and for just a moment something flickered across her face. If Elena had been paying closer attention, she might have recognized it. Envy, maybe. Or resentment. But Elena was distracted, looking at her reflection in the 3 mirrors, seeing a woman who didn't quite belong in this room. Diane returned carrying 3 garment bags. Her smile was tight. "These are what we have available in your range," she said, unzipping the first bag. The dress inside was fine. It was white. It had lace. It would technically fulfill the basic requirements of a wedding dress. It was also clearly dated, the kind of style that had been popular a decade ago, and there was a small stain near the hem that someone had tried and failed to remove completely. "This is from our 2019 collection," Diane said. "Sample sale piece. It's been tried on quite a bit, but with some alterations and a good cleaning, it could work." Elena stared at the dress. She'd waited tables for 4 years to save the money she was planning to spend today. She'd worked doubles, taken holiday shifts, smiled through harassment from customers who thought a woman serving food was public property, and this was what $5,000 bought at Maison Étoile. "What about the other 2, she asked. Diane showed her. They were both similar. Outdated, obviously used, missing buttons, or showing wear at the seams. In any other store, they would have been clearance items. Here, they were priced like treasures with the understanding that the customer should be grateful for the opportunity to buy them. "Could I see something current?" Elena asked. "Even if it's above my budget, I'd like to know what options might be available if I adjusted my price range." Diane's smile went from tight to non-existent. "Miss Marlowe, I don't want to waste your time looking at gowns you can't afford. It would only lead to disappointment." "I understand that, but I'd still like to see..." Perhaps, Diane interrupted, her voice going cool and sharp, you should consider whether Maison Étoile is the right fit for your needs. We have clients with very specific expectations, and frankly, our current collection is designed for brides planning more elaborate celebrations. There it was, the thing that had been lurking under Diane's professional veneer from the moment Elena walked in. The judgment, the dismissal, the quiet certainty that Elena didn't belong here. Sabrina's phone buzzed. She glanced at it, and her expression changed. "Oh no, she said. "Elena, I'm so sorry. It's my mom. There's an emergency. I have to go." Elena turned to her. "What happened? Is she okay?" "I don't know. She just texted me to come home right away." Sabrina was already standing, grabbing her purse. "I'm really sorry. We'll reschedule, okay? You can come back another day." "Sabrina, wait!" But Sabrina was already moving toward the door, already gone, leaving Elena alone in the consultation suite with a woman who looked at her like she was something tracked in on someone's shoe. The silence after the door closed was heavy. "Well," Diane said, "it seems you'll be shopping alone today." Elena forced herself to breathe evenly. "That's fine. I can still look at dresses." "Miss Marlowe." Diane set the tablet down, folded her hands. "I'm going to be frank with you because I don't believe in wasting anyone's time. Maison Étoile caters to a very specific clientele. Our gowns are worn by senators' daughters, by CEOs' wives, by women who are accustomed to a certain standard of quality and service. When you walked in here today, I assumed, based on your appointment and your budget, that perhaps you were connected to that world in some way. But clearly, you're not." "I made an appointment," Elena said quietly. "I'm a paying customer." "You made an appointment for a 2 o'clock slot on a Wednesday afternoon, which is typically our slowest time. And your budget, while I'm sure it represents significant savings for you, is not what we consider a serious commitment to the Maison Étoile experience." Elena felt something cold settle in her stomach. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying that perhaps you would be happier at a more accessible establishment. David's Bridal, perhaps, or one of the chain stores at the mall. Places that are designed for brides with more modest means. I want to shop here. And I'm telling you that wouldn't be in anyone's best interest." Diane's voice had gone from cool to ice cold. "You've seen our available options in your price range. If those don't appeal to you, and you're unwilling to expand your budget significantly, then we have nothing else to offer you." "I'm willing to expand my budget," Elena said, hating the pleading note she heard creeping into her voice. "If I found the right dress, I could..." "Could you?" Diane looked her up and down again, letting her gaze linger on Elena's scuffed shoes, her worn cardigan. "Forgive me for being skeptical, but I've been in this industry for 15 years. I've seen countless young women come in here with champagne dreams and beer budgets, convinced they can make it work, only to waste everyone's time when they can't actually afford the gowns they fall in love with." Elena stood up. "I'd like to speak to a manager." "I am the manager," Diane said. "I'm the head stylist and the owner of this boutique, and I'm telling you, as politely as I can, that Maison Étoile is not the right place for you." Something was happening in Elena's chest, something hot and painful. She'd known there would be judgment. Roman had warned her. But she hadn't expected this naked contempt, this casual cruelty dressed up as honesty. "I have an appointment," she said again. "I made it 3 weeks ago. I confirmed it yesterday. I'm here during my scheduled time, and I'm ready to shop." Diane sighed. "Miss Marlowe, you can call me Elena." "Elena." Diane's voice had the patience of someone explaining basic concepts to a slow child. "I'm trying to save us both time and embarrassment. You can't afford our gowns. You don't belong in this boutique. And frankly, the longer you insist on staying, the more uncomfortable this is going to become for everyone involved." "I'm not leaving," Elena said. Something shifted in Diane's expression. The pretense of politeness vanished entirely. "Then you're going to force me to be cruel," she said. "And I don't want to be cruel, but I will be, if that's what it takes to make you understand reality." "What reality?" "That you're out of your depth, that you walked into a place you can't afford, probably hoping to feel like a princess for an afternoon, and now you're upset because I won't play along with your fantasy." Diane stood up, and when she spoke again, Her voice was loud enough to carry beyond the consultation suite. "This isn't a charity. We don't dress brides out of pity. If you can't afford our gowns, you need to leave." The door opened. A younger stylist, a woman in her 20s with dark hair and worried eyes, poked her head in. "Diane, is everything—" "Everything is fine, Jessica. Miss Marlowe was just leaving." "I'm not leaving," Elena said. Her voice was shaking now, and she hated it, hated the tremor that betrayed how close she was to breaking. "I have an appointment. I made it in good faith. I came here to shop, and you're refusing to serve me because you decided I'm not good enough for your store." "I'm refusing to serve you because you're wasting my time," Diane snapped. "Do you have any idea how many actual clients I could be helping right now? Women who can actually afford to be here. Women who belong here. What makes them belong and not me? Money," Diane said flatly. "Status, connections. The things that matter in the real world, Elena. The things you clearly don't have." Jessica stepped fully into the room. "Diane, maybe we should—" "Stay out of this, Jessica. I just think if she has an appointment she booked online without a deposit. During a time slot, we typically reserve for walk-ins and consultations that might not result in sales. This is not a serious customer. This is someone who wanted to play dress-up in a high-end boutique, and I'm not indulging it." Elena felt like she'd been slapped. The words hit her with physical force, and for a moment she couldn't breathe. She'd expected condescension, maybe some subtle snobbery, but this was something else entirely. This was designed to hurt. "You don't know anything about me," she said quietly. "I know enough," Diane replied. "I know you can't afford to be here. I know you don't have the taste or sophistication to appreciate what we offer, and I know that the longer you stay, the more pathetic this becomes." "Diane?" Jessica's voice was sharp now, worried. "That's— what? Honest?" Diane turned to her employee. "Should I lie to her? Should I pretend she belongs here when we both know she doesn't? Should I waste an hour showing her gowns she can't buy, watching her pretend she might actually be able to afford them?" Elena's hands were shaking. She pressed them against her thighs, trying to steady herself. "I want to see a dress, Chates," she said. "Just one. One current dress from your collection. That's all I'm asking." "No." "Why not?" "Because I don't want to." Diane's smile was cruel now, enjoying this. "Because you don't deserve it. Because walking into this boutique in your clearance rack cardigan and your scuffed shoes and your $5,000 budget was an insult, and I'm not going to reward that insult by pretending you're the kind of client we want." The room was very quiet. Elena could hear her own heartbeat, loud and uneven in her ears. She could feel Jessica's discomfort, the younger woman shifting her weight from foot to foot, clearly wanting to intervene but not knowing how. "I'm going to give you one last chance to leave with some dignity," Diane said. "Walk out now, and we'll forget this ever happened. Stay, and I'll make sure everyone in this building knows exactly what kind of person tries to shop above their station." Elena stared at her. All her life, she'd been invisible to people like Diane. Growing up poor, working service jobs, always on the outside of rooms like this, pressed against the glass but never allowed through. She'd thought marrying Roman would change that. Not because of his money, but because loving him had made her feel like she deserved something beautiful, something special, something more than the scraps the world had always offered her. But she'd been wrong. Without Roman's name attached to her, she was still just the girl in the scuffed shoes. Still invisible. Still beneath consideration. "No," she said. "Excuse me?" "No, I'm not leaving. I have an appointment, and I'm staying until I get the service I booked." Diane's expression went very cold. "Jessica, call security." "Wait," Jessica said. "Diane, please, let's just—" "Call security." Jessica hesitated, then pulled out her phone. Elena felt her heart hammering against her ribs. This was insane. This was wrong. But she couldn't leave, couldn't let Diane win, couldn't walk out of here and prove that she was exactly what this woman believed. Someone small, someone powerless, someone who could be dismissed and forgotten. A man in a dark uniform appeared in the doorway. He was large, muscular, with the kind of face that suggested he'd dealt with difficult situations before. "Ma'am," he said to Diane, "you called?" "This woman is refusing to leave," Diane said. "I've asked her multiple times, politely, and she's becoming belligerent. The security guard looked at Elena. She saw him taking in her appearance, making the same calculations Diane had made, reaching the same conclusions. "Miss," he said, "I'm going to have to ask you to leave the premises." "I have an appointment," Elena said. Her voice sounded strange, too high and tight. "I didn't do anything wrong." "You're disrupting our business," Diane said. "You're making our staff uncomfortable, and you're trespassing." "Trespassing? I was invited here. I made an appointment." "An appointment I'm now canceling," Diane said. "You need to go." The security guard stepped closer. "Miss, please, don't make this difficult." Elena looked around the room. Jessica was staring at the floor, clearly ashamed but not willing to stand up to her boss. Diane was watching with something like satisfaction, like this was the outcome she'd wanted all along. The security guard was reaching for her arm, and in that moment, Elena realized how alone she was. Sabrina had abandoned her. The boutique staff had judged her and found her wanting. Even the younger stylist, who seemed uncomfortable with what was happening, wasn't going to help her. She was powerless here, invisible, beneath consideration. The security guard's hand closed around her upper arm. "Let's go," he said. Elena jerked away from him. "Don't touch me." "Ma'am, I don't want to force you." "Then don't. You need to leave." "I need you to let go of me." His grip tightened. Elena felt panic rising in her throat, felt the humiliation of it crashing over her like a wave. This was what the world did to people like her. This was what happened when you tried to exist in spaces that weren't meant for you. She was being thrown out of a bridal boutique like a criminal, like trash. The guard started pulling her toward the door. "Stop," she said. "Please, just stop." And then she heard it, the sound of engines outside, low and powerful. Multiple engines, moving in formation, the kind of sound that made people look up and take notice. Through the boutique's front windows, Elena saw them arrive. Black SUVs, 6 of them, pulling up to the curb in perfect synchronization. They didn't park so much as occupy the entire front of the building, blocking traffic, claiming the space like territory. The security guard stopped pulling her. Everyone stopped moving. The SUV doors opened, men stepped out, and they weren't the kind of men you saw stepping out of normal vehicles. They were dressed in dark suits, moving with military precision, and there was something about the way they held themselves that made it very clear they were armed. Diane's face had gone pale. "What the—" The boutique door opened. Roman DeLuca walked in. He was wearing a charcoal suit tailored so precisely it looked like it had been painted onto his body. His dark hair was swept back, his jaw was sharp enough to cut glass, and his eyes, the same gray eyes Elena loved, the ones that softened when he looked at her, were currently flat and cold as winter ice. He scanned the room. His gaze passed over the security guard still holding Elena's arm, over Jessica frozen by the wall, over Diane, whose expression had gone from smug to terrified in the space of a heartbeat. Then he looked at Elena. Everything in his face changed. The coldness cracked, just for a moment, and she saw the fury beneath it. Not at her, for her. He crossed the room in 4 long strides. The security guard released Elena's arm like she'd suddenly caught fire. Roman stopped in front of her. He didn't touch her yet, just looked at her, and she saw him taking inventory, her face flushed with humiliation, her hands shaking, the tears she was barely holding back. "Elena," he said quietly. His voice was rough, controlled with effort. "Are you hurt?" She shook her head, not trusting herself to speak. "Did he touch you?" Roman's eyes flicked to the security guard. "He grabbed my arm," she whispered. Roman's jaw tightened. He still didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to. "Step outside," he said to the guard. "My men will deal with you." The guard's face went white. "Sir, I was just—" "Outside. Now." The man fled. Roman finally touched her, his hand gentle on her face, tilting her chin up so she had to look at him. "Tell me what happened." Behind him, Elena could see Diane. The woman looked like she was about to faint. She'd recognized Roman, clearly. Or if not Roman specifically, then what he represented. The kind of power that arrived in convoys, that moved with armed men, that didn't ask permission or make appointments. "They wouldn't help me," Elena said. Her voice broke on the words. I had an appointment, and she said I didn't belong here. Roman's hand dropped from her face. He turned, slowly, and looked at Diane. You, he said. Diane seemed to be trying to speak. Her mouth opened and closed, but nothing came out. You're the one who said that to her? Roman asked. His voice was still quiet, terrifyingly quiet. Mr. DeLuca, we didn't know, didn't know what? He took a step toward her. Diane backed up against the wall. Didn't know who she was. Didn't know she was mine. No, sir, we had no idea. So your defense, Roman interrupted, is that you treat all your customers like shit, but you would have made an exception if you'd known this one was protected? Diane was shaking now. Please, Mr. DeLuca, it was a misunderstanding. A misunderstanding? Roman's laugh was cold and sharp. You told my fiancé she didn't belong in your store. You mocked her budget. You refused to serve her. You called security to throw her out. That's not a misunderstanding. That's a choice. I'm so sorry, Diane said. Tears were streaming down her face now, ruining her perfect makeup. Please, I didn't mean... If I had known she was with you. That's the problem, Roman said. He moved closer, and Diane pressed herself against the wall like she could disappear through it. You didn't mean to disrespect someone powerful. You meant to disrespect someone you thought was powerless. You meant to hurt someone you thought couldn't hurt you back. Please. Did it feel good? Roman asked. Making her feel small? Telling her she wasn't good enough? Did that make you feel important? Diane was sobbing now, mascara running down her cheeks. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Roman turned away from her like she wasn't worth looking at anymore. He pulled out his phone, dialed a number. Marcus, he said when someone answered. I'm at Maison Etoile on 5th Street. I need you to pull the ownership records for this building and find out who holds the lease agreements for the luxury retail tenants. He listened for a moment. Yes, right now. And pull their credit lines, supplier contracts, and protection arrangements. Another pause. All of them. I want this place shut down by the end of the week. He ended the call. Put the phone back in his pocket, looked at Diane. You're done, he said simply. No, Diane gasped. Please, you can't. This is my business, my life. You should have thought of that before you put your hands on what's mine. The guard touched her, not me. You ordered it, Roman said. You wanted her humiliated. You wanted her thrown out like garbage. Well, congratulations. You got what you wanted. Now you get to live with the consequences. He turned back to Elena, and his expression softened again. Are you ready to leave, or do you want me to burn this place down first? Elena looked at him. Behind him, Diane was collapsed against the wall, destroyed. Jessica was staring at the floor. The whole boutique had gone silent, staff and customers frozen in place, watching the execution of a business in real time. She should have felt triumph. She should have felt satisfaction watching Diane's world end. But all she felt was tired and sad and betrayed by someone who hadn't even been in this room. I want to leave, she said. Roman nodded. He put his arm around her shoulders, gentle and protective, and guided her toward the door. As they passed Diane, the woman grabbed at Roman's sleeve. Please, she sobbed. Please, I have employees, people who depend on me. Roman stopped, looked down at her hand on his arm. She snatched it back like she'd touched fire. You should have thought of them, he said, before you decided cruelty was good business. Then he led Elena out into the gray afternoon, where 6 black SUVs waited and armed men stood at attention, and the entire street had stopped to watch. Elena sat in the back of Roman's SUV, watching the city blur past the tinted windows. She hadn't spoken since they'd left the boutique. Neither had Roman. He sat beside her, close enough that she could feel the heat radiating off his body, but he hadn't touched her again. His jaw was tight, a muscle working there like he was grinding his teeth. The silence felt heavy, full of things neither of them wanted to say. Finally, Roman's phone buzzed. He glanced at it, typed something quickly, then put it away. Marcus pulled the records, he said. The building owner is Gregory Chen. He's got connections to the Volkov family. Elena turned to look at him. So you can't touch the boutique? I didn't say that. Roman's voice was flat. I said the owner has connections. Connections can be severed. Roman, They put their hands on you, Elena. They threw you out like garbage. You think I'm going to let that slide? I think, Elena said carefully, that burning down a business because someone was rude to me is excessive. Roman turned to face her fully. His eyes were still that cold gray, the color they got when he was deciding whether someone lived or died. She'd seen that look before, usually right before men disappeared and were never found again. Rude? He repeated. Is that what you're calling it? What would you call it? Assault, humiliation, an attack on my family. He reached out, took her hand. His fingers were warm, steady. You're going to be my wife. That makes you untouchable. And anyone who doesn't understand that needs to be taught. Elena pulled her hand away. I didn't want this. I know. Then why did you come? Roman's expression shifted, and for a moment he looked almost hurt. You think I shouldn't have? I think you proved every point I was trying to avoid by keeping your name out of it. What point? That I only matter because of who you are. Elena felt her throat tightening again, felt the tears she'd been holding back threatening to spill over. That without you I'm nothing. That's not... It is true, she interrupted. You saw how they treated me, like I was dirt, like I didn't even deserve to be in the same room as their precious dresses. And they were right, Roman. Without your name, without your money, I'm just some girl who saved up $5,000 and thought that was enough to matter. Roman was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, Pull over. The driver complied immediately, guiding the SUV to the curb. Roman turned to Elena, and the coldness was gone from his eyes now. He looked tired. You think I came because I was worried about my reputation? He asked. Didn't you? I came because Sabrina called me. Elena went very still. What? Sabrina, your friend. She called me 20 minutes after she left the boutique and told me you were in trouble. Why would she, Elena stopped. The fake emergency. The sudden exit. She set me up. She set you up, Roman confirmed. She knew what would happen when you walked in there alone. She wanted you humiliated. Elena felt something crack open inside her chest. No, Sabrina wouldn't do that. We've been friends for years. Have you? Roman pulled out his phone, brought up a text thread, showed it to Elena. Read it. The messages were from Sabrina, sent over the past 3 months. Elena scrolled through them, her hands starting to shake. She doesn't deserve him. She's not even that pretty. I could have had him if I'd met him first. She acts like she's so humble, so pure, but she's just using him like everyone else does. She's going to ruin his life, and she's too stupid to even realize it. The messages went on, hundreds of them, sent to someone named Marcus, who Elena realized must be one of Roman's men. Sabrina had been feeding information about Elena to Roman's organization for months, painting her as manipulative, as a gold digger, as someone who was playing Roman for his money while pretending to be above it all. I don't understand, Elena whispered. She's in love with me, Roman said. Or she thinks she is. And she's been trying to destroy your credibility since the day we got engaged. But we were friends. We worked together. She was there when my mother died. People change. Or maybe they were never who you thought they were to begin with. Elena stared at the messages. There was one from today, sent right after Sabrina had left the boutique. She's at Maison Étoile alone. They're eating her alive. You should see it. This is what happens when girls like her try to play in your world. Below it, Marcus had responded, Boss needs to know. And then, 3 minutes later, he's on his way. She wanted this, Elena said slowly. She wanted me to get hurt. She wanted me to fail. Yes. And then she called you so you could see it happen. So I could see you get destroyed and maybe realize you weren't strong enough for this life. Roman took the phone back, put it away. She thought if I saw you broken down and humiliated, I'd start to doubt whether you could handle being my wife. Elena laughed, but it came out choked and bitter. Smart plan. Did it work? What do you think? I think you just destroyed an entire business because someone disrespected me. I think you're probably going to destroy Sabrina too. And I think none of this would have happened if I'd just let you pay for the dress in the first place. Roman reached for her again, and this time she didn't pull away. He cupped her face in both hands, forcing her to look at him. "Listen to me," he said. "I don't care about the boutique. I don't care about Sabrina. I care about you. And watching that security guard put his hands on you, knowing you were in there alone because I let you talk me into not sending protection." He stopped, took a breath. "I should have insisted. I should have sent men with you whether you wanted them or not. I would have hated that. I know, but you wouldn't have been hurt." "I wasn't hurt. I was embarrassed. There's a difference." "Not to me," Roman said. "Not when it comes to you." Elena closed her eyes. His hands were warm on her face, steady and sure, and she wanted to lean into that certainty. But there was something else happening here, something that scared her more than Diane's cruelty or Sabrina's betrayal. "What did you do to Sabrina?" she asked. Roman's hands dropped. "Nothing. Yet." "Roman, she tried to destroy you, Elena. She manipulated you, used your friendship against you, and set you up to be humiliated because she wanted me for herself. You think I'm going to let that go? I think I get to decide what happens to her." "Why? She's not your friend. She never was." "Maybe not, but she's not yours to punish either." Roman leaned back against the seat, studying her. "You're serious." "I'm serious. Whatever you're planning, I want you to stop." "And if I don't?" "Then you're proving that I was right all along," Elena said. "That this isn't a partnership. That I'm just something you own, something you protect because it belongs to you, not because I'm a person who gets to make my own choices." The silence stretched between them. Outside, traffic moved past, people going about their normal lives, completely unaware that inside this SUV, a woman was drawing a line in the sand with one of the most dangerous men in the city. "You want to handle Sabrina yourself," Roman said finally. "I want you to do nothing. Let me deal with her." "How?" "I don't know yet, but not your way. Not with violence or threats or making people disappear." Roman smiled, but there was no humor in it. "You think that's all I know how to do?" "I think it's your first instinct." "Maybe, but I'm trying to be better, for you." He reached out, took her hand again. "I'll make you a deal. I'll stay out of the Sabrina situation, but the boutique is mine to handle." "Roman, non-negotiables," he said. "They put hands on you. That crosses a line, and I'm not letting it slide. But I'll keep it clean. No violence, just business." Elena wanted to argue, but she was tired and her head hurt, and the thought of fighting Roman on this right now felt like more than she could handle. "Fine," she said. "Good." Roman leaned forward, spoke to the driver. "Take us home." The rest of the drive passed in silence. Elena watched the city give way to suburbs, then to the gated estate where Roman lived. Where she would live too, once they were married. A massive house surrounded by walls and cameras, and armed men who would kill for Roman without hesitation. This was her future. This world of power and violence and people who smiled to your face while plotting your destruction. When they pulled through the gates, Elena saw another car already in the driveway, a silver Mercedes she didn't recognize. "Who's here?" she asked. Roman's expression went carefully neutral. "My mother." "You're—" Elena stopped. "You didn't tell me she was visiting. I didn't know. She doesn't usually announce herself." The SUV stopped. Roman got out first, then offered Elena his hand. She took it, let him help her down, and tried not to feel like she was about to walk into an ambush. The front door opened before they reached it. A woman stepped out onto the portico, and Elena recognized her immediately from the single photo Roman kept in his office. Isabella DeLuca was in her early 60s, tall and slender, wearing a cream-colored suit that probably cost more than Elena's car. Her dark hair was pulled back in a severe bun, and her eyes, the same gray as Roman's, swept over Elena with the kind of assessment that made Diane's earlier judgment look gentle by comparison. "Roman," she said. Her voice was accented, Italian, the kind of elegant pronunciation that came from expensive education and international living. "You didn't return my calls." "I was busy," Roman said. "So I see." It's Isabella's gaze moved to Elena, lingered there. "This must be the fiancé." "Mother, this is Elena Marlowe. Elena, my mother, Isabella." Elena stepped forward, offered her hand. It's nice to finally meet you. Isabella looked at the offered hand like it was something distasteful, then took it briefly. Her grip was cool and dry. Charming, she said. Roman, we need to talk. Privately. Anything you need to say, you can say in front of Elena. I don't think that's wise. I don't care what you think is wise, Roman said. His voice had gone flat again, the way it did when he was done negotiating. She's going to be my wife. That means she's family. That means there are no private conversations. Isabella's expression didn't change, but something flickered in her eyes. Annoyance, maybe, or calculation. Very well, she said. Let's go inside. The house was exactly what Elena had expected. Massive, expensive, decorated with the kind of restraint that only came from having enough money that you didn't need to prove anything. Isabella led them to a sitting room that overlooked the gardens, settled herself in a chair like it was a throne, and waited for them to sit. Roman took the couch. Elena sat beside him. I heard about your little incident today, Isabella said, looking at Elena. Elena felt her stomach drop. How did you? I have sources. They tell me you attempted to shop at Maison Étoile and were removed by security. She had an appointment, Roman said. They refused to serve her and had her thrown out. How unfortunate. Isabella's tone suggested it was anything but, though perhaps not surprising. What's that supposed to mean? Elena asked. Isabella smiled. It didn't reach her eyes. Only that Maison Étoile caters to a very specific clientele, dear. Women with connections, with standing, with the kind of background that opens doors. You can't expect them to recognize you when you walk in off the street looking like… She gestured vaguely at Elena's clothes. Well, looking as you do. Roman started to stand. Elena put her hand on his arm, held him in place. I made an appointment, she said evenly. I came prepared to pay. They judged me before I even opened my mouth. And whose fault is that? Isabella asked. You chose to go alone without Roman's name, without the proper introductions. What did you think would happen? I thought I'd be treated like a customer. Then you were naive. Isabella leaned forward slightly. Let me be very clear, Miss Marlowe. You are marrying into a family with certain expectations, certain standards. The DeLuca name carries weight, opens doors, commands respect, but it also requires that those who bear it understand how to navigate the world we inhabit. I'm learning, Elena said. Are you? Because from where I sit, it appears you're playing at poverty like it's a virtue, refusing Roman's money, insisting on paying your own way, trying to prove some point about independence. Isabella's voice hardened. That kind of thinking is dangerous. It makes you vulnerable. It makes our family look weak. The family looks weak because I want to buy my own wedding dress? The family looks weak because my son's future wife gets thrown out of boutiques like a shoplifter. Isabella turned to Roman. This is what happens when you choose sentiment over strategy. You pick a girl with no training, no background, no understanding of what this life requires, and then you're surprised when she embarrasses us. Careful, Roman said quietly. I'm being honest. Someone needs to be. Isabella looked back at Elena. You seem like a sweet girl, genuinely, but sweet doesn't survive in our world. You need to be smart, ruthless, willing to use every advantage you have. And right now your biggest advantage is Roman, but you're squandering it because you have some romantic notion about earning things yourself. Elena felt heat rising in her face. I don't think wanting to maintain some independence makes me romantic. It makes me sane. It makes you a target, Isabella snapped. Do you think the people in our world care about your principles? They care about power. They care about what they can take from you. And every time you walk around without protection, without using Roman's name, without acknowledging what you're about to become, you're telling them you're weak. You're telling them you can be hurt. Maybe I can be hurt, Elena said. Maybe that's just life. Not your life, not anymore. Isabella stood up, smoothed her suit. When you marry my son, you stop being Elena Marlowe, ordinary girl with ordinary problems. You become Elena DeLuca, and that name means something. It means power, fear, respect. It means people who cross you disappear. It means you can destroy lives with a phone call. She paused. But it also means you have to be worthy of it. And right now, dear, you're not. The words hit like a physical blow. Elena felt herself shrinking back into the couch, felt all the confidence she'd been trying to maintain crumbling away. Roman stood up slowly. When he spoke, his voice was colder than Elena had ever heard it. Get out of my house. Isabella blinked. Excuse me? You heard me. Get out. Roman, I'm your mother, and I'm telling you to leave, right now, before I have you escorted out. You wouldn't dare. Try me. They stared at each other, and Elena saw the resemblance clearly now. The same stubborn set to the jaw, the same refusal to back down, the same barely controlled fury simmering beneath the surface. Finally, Isabella looked away. I came here to help you. No, you came here to put Elena in her place, to make sure she knows she's not good enough, that she'll never be good enough, that she should be grateful you're tolerating her at all. Roman moved between Isabella and Elena, physically blocking his mother's view. But here's what you don't understand. I don't care if she knows how to navigate your world. I don't care if she uses my name or my money or any of the advantages that come with being a DeLuca. I care that she's good and kind and strong enough to stand up for what she believes in, even when everyone around her is telling her she's wrong. Those qualities will get her killed, Isabella said. Maybe. Or maybe they'll save her. Either way, it's not your decision. Roman pulled out his phone, sent a quick text. Marco will drive you back to the airport. I assume you're not staying. You're making a mistake. That's my right. It's my life, my choice, my mistake to make. Isabella gathered her purse, moved toward the door. Then she stopped, looked back at Elena. I hope you're worth it, she said. I hope when the world comes for you, and it will, you're strong enough to survive. Because if you're not, you'll drag my son down with you. Then she was gone, heels clicking on marble, the front door opening and closing with quiet finality. Roman stood there for a long moment, his back to Elena, shoulders tight. I'm sorry, Elena said quietly. For what? For making you choose between me and your mother. You didn't make me do anything. Roman turned around, and his expression was tired. She did this to herself. She's been doing it for years, trying to control who I marry, who I do business with, how I run my life. I'm done with it. She's still your mother, and you're going to be my wife. That matters more. Elena stood up, crossed to him, put her arms around his waist. He was tense, vibrating with anger, but he wrapped his arms around her and pulled her close. This is what I was trying to avoid, she said, her voice muffled against his chest. All of this, the judgment, the politics, the people who think they have a right to opinions about our lives. I know. I just wanted a dress. I just wanted one normal thing. I know, Roman said again. He pressed his lips to the top of her head. But normal isn't an option anymore. Not for us. They stood there holding each other while outside the sun started to set and Isabella's car pulled away down the long driveway. Elena's phone buzzed. She pulled back, checked it. It was a text from Sabrina. I heard what happened. Are you okay? I'm so sorry I had to leave. My mom is fine. It was a false alarm. Can we talk? Elena stared at the message, the fake concern, the practiced lies, the casual betrayal dressed up as friendship. What do you want to do? Roman asked, looking over her shoulder at the screen. Elena thought about it, about the years of friendship, the shared struggles, the night Sabrina had stayed with her when she was grieving, about the messages Roman had shown her, the poison Sabrina had been spreading, the setup at the boutique designed to destroy her. She typed a response. We can talk. Meet me tomorrow at the coffee shop on 5th, 2 p.m. She sent it, then blocked Sabrina's number. That's it? Roman asked. That's it. I'll see her tomorrow, tell her I know what she did, and then I'm done. No revenge? No making her pay? The best revenge, Elena said, is showing her that she failed, that she tried to break us apart and only made us stronger. Roman smiled, and this time it reached his eyes. When did you get so wise? I've been practicing. He kissed her then, slow and deep, and for a moment everything else fell away. The humiliation at the boutique, Isabella's cruelty, Sabrina's betrayal, none of it mattered when he was holding her like this, like she was the most precious thing in his world. When they finally pulled apart, Roman said, "I need to handle some business tonight. Will you be okay here alone?" "Me, yes. I'm always alone here. Your house is the size of a hotel. I could have someone stay with you. One of the wives, maybe. Teresa is... I don't need a babysitter, Roman. I know you don't need one, but after today, I need space to think." Elena touched his face. "Go handle your business. I'll be fine." He looked like he wanted to argue, but he just nodded. "I'll have extra security on the grounds. And if you need anything at all, you call me." "I will." He left an hour later, after making her promise 3 more times to call if she felt unsafe. Elena watched his convoy pull away, then walked through the massive house feeling smaller than she had in years. She ended up in Roman's study, a room she usually avoided because it was so completely his. Dark wood, leather furniture, walls lined with books in Italian and English. His desk was massive, the surface clear except for a single photo frame. Elena picked it up. It was a picture of them from 6 months ago, taken at some charity event Roman's organization had sponsored to launder money through. She was wearing a blue dress he'd bought her, smiling at something off camera. Roman was looking at her with an expression that still caught her off guard when she saw it, pure, unguarded affection. This was what Isabella didn't understand, what Diane hadn't seen, what Sabrina refused to accept. Roman loved her. Not because she was useful, not because she enhanced his reputation, not because she fit into his world. He loved her because she didn't fit, because she challenged him, because she made him want to be something more than just a monster in an expensive suit. And she loved him. Despite the violence, despite the danger, despite everything she knew he was capable of, she loved him because underneath all of that, there was a man who held her gently, who listened when she talked, who would burn the world down to keep her safe. But love wasn't always enough. Isabella had been right about that much, at least. Love didn't protect you from judgment or betrayal or the casual cruelty of people who thought you didn't belong. Elena set the photo down. Her phone was still in her pocket, Sabrina's blocked number a silent reminder of friendship poisoned by jealousy. Tomorrow, she would face Sabrina. She would look her former friend in the eye and end things cleanly, finally. But tonight, she sat alone in Roman's study and wondered if she was strong enough for the life she'd chosen. If she could survive being Elena DeLuca when she'd barely managed being Elena Marlowe. Outside, security lights swept the grounds in steady patterns. Inside, the house creaked and settled around her. And somewhere in the city, in a boutique that would be closed and bankrupted by the end of the week, Diane probably sat alone too, realizing that cruelty had consequences after all. Elena woke to silence so complete it felt wrong. She lay in Roman's bed, their bed, she kept trying to remind herself, staring at the ceiling and listening to nothing. In her old apartment, there had always been noise. Neighbors arguing through thin walls, traffic from the street below, the building's ancient pipes groaning and rattling. Here, the silence was thick and expensive, broken only by the occasional footstep of security guards patrolling the grounds. Roman hadn't come home. She'd fallen asleep around midnight waiting for him, and now her phone showed 6:30 in the morning, and his side of the bed was still empty. She had 3 missed calls from him, all between 2 and 4 a.m., and a single text. "Business ran late. Didn't want to wake you. I'll be home by breakfast." Elena got up, pulled on jeans and one of Roman's shirts that hung almost to her knees and wandered downstairs. The kitchen was massive, all marble counters and professional-grade appliances that she still didn't know how to use properly. Maria, the housekeeper who came in at dawn, was already there setting up the coffee maker. "Good morning, Miss Elena," Maria said. She was in her 50s, kind-faced, one of the few people in Roman's employment who treated Elena like a normal person instead of a fragile object that might break. "Mr. DeLuca called. He'll be back within the hour." "Thank you, Maria. Can I make you breakfast?" "Just coffee is fine." Maria nodded but started pulling out eggs and bread anyway. Elena had learned not to argue. In Maria's world, people who said they only wanted coffee were people who needed to be fed. Elena took her coffee out to the terrace. The morning was cool, the sky that pale gray that came right before sunrise. From here, she could see the entire estate, the manicured gardens, the high walls, the gate where armed men stood watch 24 hours a day. It was beautiful in a sterile kind of way, like a photograph of what wealth was supposed to look like. Her phone buzzed, a text from a number she didn't recognize. "This is Jessica from Maison Étoile. I got your number from the appointment system. I'm so sorry about what happened yesterday. Diane had no right to treat you that way. If you're still looking for a dress, I'd love to help you. No pressure. Just wanted you to know that not everyone there is like her." Elena stared at the message. Jessica, the young stylist who'd looked uncomfortable but hadn't intervened, who'd watched Elena get humiliated and done nothing to stop it. She started to type a polite refusal, then deleted it. Started again, deleted again. Finally, she just put the phone down. "Trouble?" Elena turned. Roman was walking across the terrace, still in yesterday's clothes, looking exhausted. There was blood on his shirt cuff, barely visible against the dark fabric, but Elena had learned to spot these things. "You're hurt," she said. "Not mine." He kissed her forehead, then dropped into the chair beside her. "You're up early." "Couldn't sleep. You didn't come home." "I told you, business ran late. I know." Elena touched the blood on his cuff. "What kind of business?" Roman was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "The kind you don't want to know about. That's not fair. You can't keep me in the dark about what you do and then expect me to be okay with it when you come home at dawn covered in someone else's blood. I'm not covered in it. It's a spot. Roman." He sighed, leaned back, closed his eyes. Viktor Volkov sent some of his men to make a point about the boutique situation. Apparently Gregory Chen, the building owner, is closer to the Volkov family than my people thought. Viktor was unhappy that I went after Chen's property. Elena felt something cold settle in her stomach. "So what happened?" "We had a conversation. It got physical. We reached an understanding." Roman opened his eyes, looked at her. "The boutique is still going down. Volkov agreed to stay out of it. Chen will have to find new tenants for the building, but that's his problem." "And the blood?" "One of Victor's guys got aggressive. I handled it." "Handled it how?" "Elena, see?" "I want to know." Roman studied her face, then said, "I broke his arm. 3 places. He'll heal, but he won't be using that arm properly again." Elena set her coffee down carefully. Her hands were shaking. "You broke someone's arm over a wedding dress." "I broke someone's arm because he pulled a knife on me in my own territory while trying to intimidate me into backing down from a decision I'd already made." Roman's voice was flat, matter of fact. "The wedding dress has nothing to do with it. It has everything to do with it. If I hadn't gone to that boutique, then Victor would have found some other excuse to test me. This is what he does. What they all do. They look for weakness, for opportunities to push boundaries and see what they can get away with." He reached for her hand. "This isn't your fault." "Isn't it? Your mother was right. I don't understand this world. I don't know the rules. And every time I try to do something normal, someone gets hurt. No one got hurt who didn't choose to get hurt. Victor's man had options. He could have stayed quiet, let his boss handle the negotiation, walked away intact. He chose to escalate. That's on him." Maria appeared with a tray of food, scrambled eggs, toast, fresh fruit. She set it down without comment, then disappeared back into the house. Roman picked up a piece of toast, looked at it, put it back down. "I need to ask you something." "Okay. Are you having second thoughts?" Elena looked at him. He was still wearing yesterday's clothes, still had another man's blood on his cuff, still looked like exactly what he was. A criminal, a killer, a man who broke people's bones over matters of respect and territory. But his eyes were worried, and his hand was gentle when he touched hers, and she knew that if she said yes, if she told him she couldn't do this, he would let her go. It would destroy him, but he would do it. "No," she said, "I'm not having second thoughts about us. But I'm having thoughts about how we're going to make this work." "What do you mean?" "I mean that I can't keep pretending I'm going to have a normal life. I can't keep trying to do things the way I would have done them before I met you. It's not fair to you, and it's dangerous for both of us." Roman was very still. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying that maybe your mother was right. Maybe I need to learn how to be a DeLuca instead of trying to stay Elena Marlowe." I don't want you to change. I'm not talking about changing who I am. I'm talking about learning how to survive in your world without getting people hurt. Elena took a breath. I'm meeting Sabrina today at 2. I want to handle it myself, but I also want you to teach me how to do it properly. Properly? The way someone in your family would do it, with enough power that she understands there are consequences, but without violence, without threats, just clean. Roman smiled slightly. You want me to teach you how to destroy someone politely. I want you to teach me how to protect myself. How to make sure that what happened at the boutique never happens again, not because I'm hiding behind your name, but because I know how to use it. That's a dangerous road, Elena. More dangerous than what I'm doing now? I keep trying to prove I'm independent. I'm my own person. I don't need your world to define me, and all it's done is make me vulnerable, made me a target. She squeezed his hand. I love you. I'm going to marry you. That means I'm going to be a DeLuca whether I like it or not. So teach me how to be one properly. Roman was quiet for a long time. Then he said, Okay, but we do it my way. Which means you listen, you learn, and you don't improvise. Understood? Understood. Good. He pulled out his phone, typed something quickly. First lesson, knowledge is power. Before you confront someone, you learn everything about them. Everything they value, everything they fear, everything they have to lose. I already know Sabrina. You know the version of Sabrina she showed you. You don't know her finances, her family situation, her vulnerabilities. Marcus is pulling that information now. By the time you meet her at 2, you'll know more about her life than she knows about yours. Elena felt a chill run through her. That seems like overkill. That's how you survive. You never walk into a confrontation without knowing exactly how much damage you can do and what it will cost you. Roman's phone buzzed. He glanced at it, nodded. Jessica from the boutique reached out to you. How did you? I have access to your phone records. Don't look at me like that. It's for security. It's invasive. It's necessary. And in this case, it's useful. Jessica is offering to help you find a dress. I saw the message. Are you going to respond? Elena thought about it. Jessica, who'd stood there and watched Diane destroy her, who hadn't said a word in her defense, who was now reaching out, probably trying to save her own job at a boutique that was about to collapse. I don't know, she said. Let me tell you what I know about Jessica Harper, Roman said, pulling up something on his phone. 26 years old, graduated from design school with $40,000 in student debt that she's still paying off. Works at Maison Étoile for $22 an hour plus commission, which means she made about $38,000 last year. Lives in a studio apartment with 2 roommates, sends money home to her mother in Ohio every month. She's been at the boutique for 3 years, and she's terrified of Diane. How do you know all that? Because I had someone look into everyone who was in that building yesterday, everyone who saw what happened to you, everyone who could have helped, and didn't. He put the phone down. Jessica didn't intervene because she couldn't afford to lose her job. That doesn't excuse what she did, but it explains it. So you think I should forgive her? I think you should use her. She feels guilty. She wants to make it right. Let her. Let her find you a dress. Give you the service you should have gotten yesterday. And when the boutique closes and she's out of work, you'll remember that she tried to help when it mattered. Elena stared at him. That's manipulative. That's strategic. There's a difference. Is there? Yes. Manipulation is about control. Strategy is about positioning. I'm not telling you to manipulate Jessica into doing something she doesn't want to do. I'm telling you to accept her genuine offer and remember it later. That's how you build loyalty. You give people the opportunity to prove themselves, and when they do, you reward it. Elena picked up her coffee, found it had gone cold. This is exhausting. Being in my world? Thinking 5 steps ahead all the time, analyzing every interaction for advantage, never just taking things at face value. You get used to it. Do you? Or do you just forget what it was like to trust people? Roman didn't answer right away. When he did, his voice was quieter. I trust you. That's different. Is it? I'm teaching you how to think like someone in my world. How to see the angles, read the power dynamics, protect yourself. And you're right. It is exhausting, but it's also survival. And I need to know that if something happens to me, if I'm not there to protect you, you can protect yourself. Elena looked at him. He was watching her with an intensity that made her chest tight. Nothing's going to happen to you, she said. You don't know that. Roman, I break people's arms over territory disputes, Elena. I have enemies in 3 states who would love to see me dead. And now you're going to have those same enemies, just by being my wife. He leaned forward. So yes, I'm going to teach you how to think strategically. I'm going to teach you how to read people, how to leverage power, how to destroy someone without ever raising your voice, because that's what keeps you alive in this world. The sun was rising now, turning the sky pink and gold. Somewhere in the gardens, birds were starting to sing. Okay, Elena said, teach me. They spent the next 6 hours in Roman's study. Marcus arrived around 9 with folders full of information on Sabrina, and Elena read through it all while Roman explained what each piece meant, how it could be used, what leverage it provided. Sabrina Chen, 28 years old, worked as an office manager for a small marketing firm, made $45,000 a year, rented a 1-bedroom apartment in a neighborhood that was trying to gentrify but hadn't quite made it yet. Parents owned a restaurant that was struggling, 3 months behind on rent and facing eviction. Sabrina sent them money every month, usually around $500, which was why her own savings account was nearly empty. She's desperate, Roman said, pointing to the bank statements. Look at this. She's living paycheck to paycheck, barely making ends meet, and she's still supporting her parents. That's where she's vulnerable. So what, I threaten her parents' restaurant? You could, but that's crude and it makes you look like me. Roman smiled slightly. You're not me. You're better. You don't threaten. You offer solutions. I don't understand. Sabrina betrayed you because she's jealous. She wants what you have, and she can't have it, so she tried to destroy it. But underneath that jealousy is desperation. She's drowning financially, watching her parents lose everything, working a job she hates with no way out. So you give her a way out. By doing what? By offering to help her parents, not directly, not in a way that makes it obvious you're buying her silence or her apology, but you make it clear that you could help if you wanted to, if she earned it. Elena sat back. That feels manipulative. It is manipulative. It's also kind. Her parents genuinely need help. You have access to resources that could save their restaurant. The question is whether you're willing to use those resources as leverage. And if I'm not, then you cut her off cleanly, walk away, and accept that she'll probably keep trying to undermine you because she has nothing to lose. Elena looked at the folders spread across Roman's desk. Sabrina's entire life, reduced to financial statements and social media histories and employment records. It felt invasive, wrong, like she was violating something sacred. But Roman was right. This was survival. And if she was going to survive in his world, she needed to learn how to use the tools available to her. What do I say? She asked. Roman pulled out a notepad, started writing. You keep it simple. You tell her you know what she did. You don't get emotional. Don't give her the satisfaction of seeing that she hurt you. You lay out the facts, let her know that you have evidence, and then you offer her a choice. What choice? Stay in your life and be loyal, or disappear completely. If she chooses loyalty, you help her parents. If she chooses to disappear, you make sure she understands that coming back, trying to hurt you again, will have consequences. What kind of consequences? The kind she can imagine for herself. You don't have to spell it out. Just make it clear that you're not the same person she betrayed, that you have power now and you're willing to use it. Elena took the notepad, read what Roman had written. It was clear, direct, completely devoid of emotion. It sounded like something a mob boss would say, not a heartbroken friend. I can't say this, she said. Why not? Because it's not me. It's you. Roman took the notepad back, considered it, then tore off the page and started over. Okay, say it in your own words, but hit the same points, the facts, the choice, the consequences. Make sure she understands that the friendship is over, but the door isn't completely closed if she earns her way back. Elena watched him write, and something occurred to her. You've done this before. What? Given someone a choice between loyalty and disappearing, how many times? Roman set the pen down. More times than I can count. And how many people chose loyalty? Most of them. People usually choose survival over pride. And the ones who didn't? Roman's expression went carefully neutral. They made their choice. I respected it. Elena knew what that meant. People who chose to disappear and didn't follow through. People who tried to come back, tried to cause problems, tried to hurt Roman or the people he cared about. People who ended up actually disappearing permanently into the kind of shallow graves that were never found. I don't want that, she said. With Sabrina, whatever happens, I don't want her hurt. Then make sure she understands the stakes. Make sure she knows that loyalty means protection and betrayal means nothing, not violence, just nothing. Complete removal from your life, from any help you could provide, from any connection to the DeLuca family. Roman touched her hand. You have more power than you think. You just have to be willing to use it. At 1 o'clock, Elena started getting ready. She chose her clothes carefully. Black jeans, a simple white blouse, the leather jacket Roman had bought her for her birthday. She looked at herself in the mirror and saw someone who could be either version of herself. The girl who'd worked tables and clipped coupons, or the woman about to marry Roman DeLuca. Roman appeared in the doorway. You want me to come with you? No, this is something I need to do alone. I'll have men nearby, not close enough to be seen, but close enough to intervene if something goes wrong. Nothing's going to go wrong. Humor me. Elena turned to face him. He was watching her with that same worried expression from this morning, like he was afraid she might break. I'm not fragile, she said. I know you're not. But you're precious. And I protect precious things. She crossed to him, kissed him slowly. I'll be fine. I promise. The coffee shop was busy, the lunch rush just ending, people scattered at tables with laptops and oversized mugs. Elena spotted Sabrina immediately, sitting at a corner table, nursing what looked like a latte. She looked nervous, fidgeting with her phone, glancing at the door every few seconds. When she saw Elena, her face flooded with relief. Oh, thank goodness, Sabrina said, standing up. I was worried you wouldn't come. I ordered you a coffee, the caramel thing you like, but it might be cold now. Sit down, Sabrina. Something in Elena's voice made Sabrina stop mid-sentence. She sat. Elena took the chair across from her. The coffee shop noise felt distant, muffled, like they were in a bubble separate from the world around them. I know what you did, Elena said. Sabrina's expression didn't change, but her hands tightened around her cup. What are you talking about? The boutique, the fake emergency with your mom, the months of messages you've been sending to Roman's people, trying to convince them I was using him. Sabrina went very pale. Elena, don't lie to me. I have the messages. I have records of your calls. I know you set me up to be humiliated, and I know you called Roman so he would see it happen. Elena kept her voice level, calm, exactly the way Roman had taught her. What I don't know is why. For a long moment, Sabrina just stared at her. Then something crumbled in her face, and she looked away. You wouldn't understand, she said quietly. Try me. You have everything. You always have. Even when we were poor, even when we were both struggling, you had this thing about you, this light. People liked you without you even trying. And then you met him, and suddenly you had everything I ever wanted. I never tried to take anything from you. I know. That's what made it worse. Sabrina's voice was bitter now. You didn't even have to try. He just saw you, and that was it. You became the center of his world without even understanding what that meant. So you tried to destroy it. I tried to make him see who you really were. This girl playing at being humble, pretending she didn't want his money or his power, when really you were just terrified of not being good enough. Elena felt the words hit like a slap. Because Sabrina wasn't entirely wrong. She had been terrified, still was, sometimes. You're right, Elena said. I am scared. I am worried about not being good enough for his world, but I was trying to handle that myself. You didn't need to make it worse. I wasn't trying to make it worse. I was trying to make him see reality. that you couldn't handle it, that you would drag him down. Sabrina looked up, and her eyes were wet. I could have handled it. I would have been good at it, but he never even looked at me. So this was about jealousy. Yes, no, I don't know. Sabrina wiped her eyes. I'm sorry. I know that doesn't fix anything, but I am sorry. I shouldn't have done it. Elena sat back. This was the moment Roman had prepared her for. The moment where she had to choose between mercy and strategy, between the friend she'd been and the woman she was becoming. Your parents' restaurant is about to close, she said. Sabrina's expression shifted. Confusion, then fear. How do you know about that? Because I have access to information now. The same way you had access to Roman through Marcus. The same way you knew things about me you shouldn't have known. Elena, please don't. I'm not threatening them. I'm offering to help. Sabrina went very still. What? I have resources now. Money, connections, people who can make problems go away. I could help your parents save their restaurant. Make sure they don't lose everything they've built. Why would you do that? Because despite everything, I don't hate you. I'm angry and I'm hurt, and I don't think we can be friends anymore. But I don't want to see you suffer. Elena leaned forward. But here's the thing. If I help you, if I use Roman's resources to save your parents, you have to understand what that means. It means you're loyal, completely loyal. No more messages to Marcus, no more trying to undermine me, no more jealousy, no more betrayal. It means you disappear from my life except when I choose to let you back in. Bitch. And if I don't want your help, then you walk away right now and we never speak again. Your parents lose the restaurant, you keep struggling, and you never get another chance to be part of my life. Elena kept her voice steady. But you also never have to worry about me using my power against you. You just go back to your life and I go back to mine, and we forget we ever knew each other. Sabrina was crying now, silent tears running down her face. I don't deserve this. I don't deserve you offering me anything. You're right, you don't. But I'm offering anyway because that's who I am. I'm the girl who still believes in second chances, even when I shouldn't. Elena stood up. You have until tomorrow to decide. Call me or don't. Either way, we're done being friends. The only question is whether we become something else. She walked out of the coffee shop without looking back. Outside, the afternoon sun was bright and harsh, and her hands were shaking so badly she had to shove them in her pockets to hide it. A black car pulled up to the curb. The back door opened and Roman leaned out. Get in, he said. Elena got in. The door closed behind her, and suddenly the world was quiet again, filtered through tinted windows and expensive leather. How did I do? She asked. You were perfect. Roman pulled her close, kissed the top of her head. I'm proud of you. Elena closed her eyes. She'd done it. She'd confronted Sabrina the way someone in Roman's world would have done it. With power, with strategy, with the kind of calculated kindness that was really just another form of control. She should have felt strong, empowered. Instead, she just felt tired. Take me home, she said. Roman told the driver, and the car pulled away from the curb. Through the window, Elena saw Sabrina sitting alone at the table in the coffee shop, her head in her hands, her whole body shaking with sobs. And Elena wondered if this was what it meant to be a DeLuca. To offer help with one hand while holding a knife in the other. To be kind and cruel in the same breath. To learn that power and love were not opposites, but different sides of the same coin. The car carried them through the city, back toward the estate with its high walls and armed guards, and silence so complete it felt like drowning. And Elena held Roman's hand and tried not to think about the girl she used to be, the one who believed the world would treat you fairly if you just worked hard enough and stayed kind. That girl was gone now. Dead and buried somewhere between the boutique and the coffee shop, between Diane's cruelty and Sabrina's tears. In her place was someone new, someone harder, someone learning to survive, someone becoming Elena DeLuca. Sabrina called the next morning at 7, her voice wrecked from crying. I accept, she said. No preamble, no small talk. I accept your help. And I'll stay away. I promise. Elena was still in bed, Roman's arm draped across her waist. She carefully extracted herself and walked to the window overlooking the gardens. Your parents' restaurant, Elena said. What's the name? Golden Phoenix. It's on Hartley Street, near the old factory district. I'll have someone contact them by the end of the week. They won't know it came from me. There was a long pause. Then Sabrina said, Thank you. Don't thank me. Just keep your promise. Elena hung up before Sabrina could say anything else. When she turned around, Roman was sitting up in bed, watching her. She took the deal, Elena said. I heard. Roman ran a hand through his hair, still messy from sleep. You okay? I don't know. I feel like I should be happy. Like, I won something, but I just feel empty. That's normal. The first time you use power like that, it feels wrong. Like you're becoming someone you said you'd never be. Am I? Becoming someone you said you'd never be? Roman considered it. Maybe. Or maybe you're just becoming someone who can survive. There's a difference. Elena sat on the edge of the bed. I keep thinking about what your mother said, about how I'm not worthy of your name, about how I'll drag you down. My mother is a bitter woman who's been alone for 20 years because she pushed everyone away who actually cared about her. Don't let her poison get in your head. But what if she's right? What if I'm not strong enough for this? Roman pulled her back against him, wrapped his arms around her from behind. You just faced down your best friend, offered her a deal that protected both of you, and did it without crying or begging or losing control. That's strength, Elena. Maybe not the kind my mother recognizes, but it's real. There was a knock on the door. Maria's voice came through. Mr. DeLuca, there's someone here to see Miss Elena, a Jessica Harper. She says she's from a bridal boutique. Elena and Roman exchanged glances. Tell her I'll be down in 10 minutes, Elena called out. Jessica was waiting in the foyer, looking terrified and out of place. She wore jeans and a cardigan, her dark hair pulled back in a ponytail, and she kept glancing around at the armed security guards like she expected them to throw her out at any moment. When Elena came down the stairs, Jessica stood up so fast she almost knocked over the chair she'd been sitting in. Miss Marlowe, I'm so sorry to show up like this. I know I should have called first, but I wasn't sure you'd answer, and I just needed to... She stopped, took a breath. I'm sorry, I'm rambling. It's okay, Elena said. Why are you here, Jessica? I wanted to apologize. In person. For what happened at the boutique. Jessica's hands were shaking. I should have stood up for you. I should have told Diane she was wrong, but I was scared. And I'm not saying that as an excuse. I'm just saying that's what happened, and it was wrong, and I'm sorry. Elena studied her. Jessica looked like she hadn't slept, dark circles under her eyes, her skin pale. She also looked genuinely remorseful, which was more than Elena had expected. Apology accepted, Elena said. Jessica blinked. Just like that? Just like that. You made a mistake. You're owning it. What else is there? I also wanted to tell you that I quit. Yesterday afternoon, right after you left. I told Diane I couldn't work for someone who treated people like that. Jessica smiled weakly. She fired me on the spot for insubordination, but I was already walking out, so I'm not sure it counts. You quit your job because of what happened to me? Well, I quit my job because I realized I'd been working for a horrible person and using my rent and student loans as an excuse to ignore it. What happened to you just made it impossible to keep pretending I didn't see it. Roman appeared at the top of the stairs, still in his pajama pants and nothing else. Jessica's eyes went wide when she saw him. Miss Harper, he said, coming down the stairs with the kind of casual authority that made people straighten their spines. You're the stylist who messaged Elena. Yes, sir. I mean, Mr. DeLuca. Jessica stopped, flustered. I'm sorry, I don't know what to call you. Roman is fine. He stopped next to Elena, put a hand on the small of her back. You quit your job. Yes, sir. Roman, yes. That was brave. Also possibly stupid, given the state of your finances, but mostly brave. Jessica's face went red. How did you... Never mind, of course you know about my finances. I know about everyone's finances, Roman said. He wasn't smiling, but there was something almost amused in his eyes. It's a bad habit. Jessica came to apologize, Elena said. I heard. I also heard you accept the apology, which is generous considering she watched you get thrown out and did nothing. Roman, Elena said quietly. He looked at her, and whatever he saw in her face made him back off slightly. Right, your call. He turned back to Jessica. You said in your message you wanted to help Elena find a dress. I did. I do. If she's still interested. Jessica looked at Elena. I know I don't deserve the chance, but I'm good at what I do, and I'd like to make this right. Elena thought about it. She could say no, could cut Jessica out the way she'd cut out Sabrina, could protect herself from any more betrayal by just refusing to trust anyone. But that was Isabella's way. Bitter, alone, pushing everyone away until there was no one left. Okay, Elena said, but not at Maison Étoile. The boutique is closing anyway, Jessica said. Diane got a call yesterday from the building owner. They're terminating her lease. She glanced at Roman. I'm guessing you had something to do with that. I might have made some calls, but Roman said. There's a small atelier I know, Jessica continued. The owner is a friend from design school. She makes custom gowns, works out of a studio in the arts district. Nothing like Maison Étoile. No pretension, no attitude. Just beautiful dresses made by someone who actually cares about the brides wearing them. Elena looked at Roman. He shrugged slightly, the gesture saying it was her decision. Can we go today? Elena asked. Jessica's face lit up. Absolutely. I'll call ahead. Let her know we're coming. What time works for you? Give me an hour to get ready. After Jessica left, Elena went back upstairs to shower and change. Roman followed her, leaning against the bathroom doorway while she brushed her teeth. You're giving a lot of people second chances lately, he observed. Is that a problem? It's going to get you hurt eventually. Maybe, but the alternative is becoming someone who trusts no one and ends up alone, like your mother. Roman flinched slightly. That's a low blow. It's the truth. You said it yourself yesterday. She pushed everyone away, and now she's bitter and isolated and trying to make me the same way. Elena rinsed her mouth, turned to face him. I don't want that life. I don't want to look at every person who tries to help me and assume they're working an angle. Sometimes they are working an angle, and sometimes they're just people trying to do the right thing. Elena touched his face. I know I can't be naive. I know I have to protect myself. But I also have to stay human, Roman. If I lose that, what's the point? He pulled her close, rested his forehead against hers. The point is surviving, staying alive. Not ending up dead because you trusted the wrong person. I'd rather die as myself than survive as someone I don't recognize. Don't say that. Don't even joke about it. I'm not joking. I'm telling you that there are worse things than dying, and one of them is losing yourself completely. They stood there for a long moment, holding each other in the bathroom, with steam from the shower still hanging in the air. Finally, Roman said, I'm coming with you, to the atelier. You don't have to... Oh, I'm coming, not because I don't trust Jessica, but because I want to. Because this is important to you, and that makes it important to me. Elena smiled. Okay. The atelier was in a converted warehouse, the kind of building that had been factory space 50 years ago and was now trendy artist studios and coffee shops. Jessica met them outside, and together they took an elevator to the third floor. The studio was bright and open, sunlight streaming through massive windows. Bolts of fabric lined one wall, mannequins wearing half-finished gowns stood scattered around the space, and a woman in her 30s with purple hair and paint-stained jeans looked up from a cutting table. Jess? She said, breaking into a smile. You brought me a bride. Sarah, this is Elena Marlowe and Roman DeLuca. Elena, Roman. This is Sarah Chen, the best-dressed designer in the city. Sarah wiped her hands on her jeans and came over. Her handshake was firm, her smile genuine. Nice to meet you both. Jess tells me you're looking for something simple and classic. I am, Elena said. No $50,000 couture situation with a 10-foot train and hand-sewn crystals? No, just something that feels like me. Sarah looked her up and down, not judgmental, just assessing. I can work with that. You have a date set? 6 weeks from now. Tight timeline, but doable. Let me show you some options. What followed was nothing like the experience at Maison Étoile. Sarah pulled dresses that actually fit Elena's style, listened when she said something wasn't working, suggested alterations and modifications without making Elena feel stupid for not knowing the difference between tulle and organza. Jessica assisted, and there was an easy rapport between the two women that made Elena relax for the first time in days. Roman sat in a corner, supposedly looking at his phone but actually watching everything. Elena caught him smiling when she tried on a dress that was almost perfect but had sleeves she didn't like. "What?" she asked. "Nothing. You just look happy." She did feel happy. For the first time since the disaster at the boutique, she felt like she was doing something for herself that wasn't tainted by power plays and strategic thinking. After trying on 7 dresses, they found it. Simple ivory silk fitted through the bodice and flowing from the waist, with delicate lace at the neckline. It needed alterations, but Sarah assured her it would be ready in time. "How much?" Elena asked. Sarah named a price. It was more than Elena had originally budgeted, but less than half what Maison Étoile had been asking for their clearance samples. "Done," Elena said. Roman stood up. "Put it on my card." "Roman, no. This is mine to pay for." "Elena, we had an agreement. I'm paying for my own dress." Roman looked like he wanted to argue, but Sarah cut in smoothly. "How about this? Elena pays for the dress. Mr. DeLuca pays for the alterations and any additional customization. That way you both contribute." It was a good compromise. Elena nodded and Roman did too, though he looked annoyed at being managed. They finalized the details, scheduled fittings, and left the atelier 2 hours later. Jessica walked them to their car. "Thank you," she said to Elena, "for giving me a chance to make this right." "Thank you for actually making it right," Elena replied. Jessica hesitated, then said, "I heard the boutique is closing for good. Diane's trying to find another location, but word got out about what happened. No one wants to work with her." "That's not my doing," Elena said, though she knew it absolutely was Roman's doing. "I know, but I wanted you to know that people are talking about it, about how she treated you, how you handled it. You're getting a reputation." "What kind of reputation?" "The kind that says you're not someone to mess with." Jessica smiled. "It's a good reputation to have in your world." After Jessica left, Elena and Roman sat in the back of the car as the driver navigated through midday traffic. "You did good today," Roman said. "I tried on some dresses. That's not exactly an accomplishment. You let someone help you. You trusted Jessica even though she failed you before. You made a choice to stay open instead of shutting down." He took her hand. "That's harder than it sounds." Elena leaned against his shoulder. "I keep thinking about Diane, about how her whole life just fell apart because she was cruel to the wrong person. She was cruel to a lot of people. You were just the one who had someone willing to destroy her for it. Does that bother you? That you destroyed someone's entire livelihood over me?" "No? Not even a little bit?" "Not even a little bit." Roman's voice was firm. "She humiliated you. She tried to break you. And she did it because she thought you were powerless. She deserves what she got. And if I had been powerless, if I'd just been some random woman with no connection to you, would she have deserved it then?" Roman was quiet for a moment. "Probably, but I wouldn't have been there to make it happen. That's the difference between justice and revenge. Justice is supposed to be impartial. Revenge is personal." "So you're admitting this was revenge?" "I'm admitting I don't care about justice. I care about you, and anyone who hurts you learns what that costs." They rode in silence for a while. Then Elena said, "I got a text this morning, from your mother." Roman's jaw tightened. "What did she want?" "She apologized. Sort of. Said she was too harsh the other day, that she's been under stress, that she hopes we can move past it." "And?" "And I don't believe her. I think she's trying to manipulate me into letting my guard down so she can try again." "You're probably right. So what do I do?" Roman thought about it. "You acknowledge the apology. You thank her for reaching out, and then you do absolutely nothing else. You don't engage, you don't try to win her over, you don't give her ammunition to use against you later." "That seems cold." "It's survival. My mother doesn't apologize unless she wants something. And right now, what she wants is to prove she can still control me through you. Don't give her that. Elena pulled out her phone, typed a quick response to Isabella's message. Thank you for the apology. I appreciate you reaching out. She showed it to Roman. Perfect, he said. Polite, acknowledging, but not opening any doors. Elena sent it, then put her phone away. Is this what our life is going to be like? Constantly managing people, watching for angles, never just being able to relax? Around most people, yes, but not around each other. With each other, we get to be honest. Do we? Or are we just playing different roles, pretending we're not constantly calculating what the other person wants? Roman turned to look at her. Do you think I'm calculating with you? I think you're always calculating. It's who you are. And I think I'm learning to be that way too, which scares me. Why does it scare you? Because I don't want to wake up one day and realize I turned into your mother, cold, alone, using everyone around me as chess pieces. You won't, Roman said. You know how I know? How? Because you're scared of it. My mother never was. She saw manipulation as a tool, and she used it without guilt or hesitation. You see it as a necessary evil, something you do to survive but hate yourself for doing. That difference matters. The car pulled through the gates of the estate. Home, though Elena still sometimes had trouble thinking of it that way. The house was beautiful, the grounds were immaculate, but it all felt like a stage set, something designed to impress rather than to live in. Maria met them at the door. Mr. DeLuca, there are some men waiting for you in your study. They said it was urgent. Roman's expression shifted, became businesslike. How long have they been here? About an hour. Tell them I'll be there in 5 minutes. He turned to Elena. I need to handle this. It might take a while. Business? The kind you don't want to know about. Elena had heard that phrase enough times now to know what it meant. Violence or the threat of it. Territory disputes or betrayals, or someone somewhere who needed to be reminded why crossing Roman DeLuca was a bad idea. Be careful, she said. He kissed her forehead. Always. She watched him disappear into the house, watched the way his whole demeanor changed as he moved toward the study. The softness he showed her vanished, replaced by something harder and colder. This was the man the rest of the world saw, the one who broke arms and ended careers and made people disappear. Elena went upstairs to the bedroom they shared. She pulled out the folder Marcus had compiled on Sabrina, looked through it again. All that information, all that power to destroy someone's life, and Elena had chosen mercy instead. But was it mercy? Or was it just control dressed up as kindness? She'd given Sabrina a choice, but the choice had been designed to ensure loyalty. She'd helped Sabrina's parents, but only as leverage to keep Sabrina in line. That was Roman's way. Strategic, calculated, effective. And now it was becoming Elena's way too. Her phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. This is Sarah from the atelier. I wanted to thank you for your business today. Also wanted to let you know that Jessica told me what happened at Maison Étoile. I'm sorry you went through that. No one deserves to be treated like they don't matter. Elena stared at the message for a long moment. Then she typed back. Thank you. That means more than you know. Sarah's response came quickly. You're marrying into a complicated world, but you seem like you've got a good head on your shoulders. Trust that. Don't let anyone make you feel small. Elena smiled. It was good advice. The kind of advice she needed to hear. She heard voices from downstairs raised and angry. Then Roman's voice cutting through the noise, cold and final. The kind of voice that ended arguments and made decisions stick. Elena went to the window, looked out at the gardens. Somewhere beyond the walls, the city continued its normal rhythms. People went to work, came home, lived their ordinary lives without armed guards or strategic thinking or the constant awareness of danger. She'd had that life once. It seemed like a lifetime ago now. A gunshot cracked through the air, loud and sharp. Elena froze. Her heart hammered against her ribs. She was halfway to the door when it burst open and Roman appeared, blood on his hands, his expression grim. Pack a bag, he said. We're leaving. What happened? Was that... Not now, Elena. Pack a bag. 5 minutes. Roman, you're bleeding. It's not my blood. Pack. Now. Elena moved on autopilot, pulling clothes from drawers, shoving them into a bag. Roman was on his phone, speaking rapid Italian to someone, his voice clipped and urgent. No, he was saying. Tonight. We can't wait. A pause. I don't care about the cost. Make it happen. He ended the call, looked at Elena. Done? I think so. What's going on? Viktor Volkov decided the broken arm wasn't enough of a message. He sent men here, to our home. Roman's voice was shaking with fury. They came here, Elena. They violated the one place that's supposed to be safe. Are they dead? One of them. The other two ran when they realized they'd miscalculated how well armed this house is. He grabbed the bag from her hands. We're going somewhere secure until I can handle this properly. Where? Safe house upstate. It's remote, well protected. No one knows about it except my inner circle. They were moving now, Roman's hand on her back, guiding her through the house. Elena saw blood on the floor of the foyer, saw Maria being escorted out by security guards, saw men in tactical gear sweeping through rooms with weapons drawn. This was the other side of Roman's world, the side she'd been protected from, kept away from, allowed to pretend didn't exist. But it did exist. And it had just crashed into her reality with gunfire and blood and the terrifying understanding that being with Roman meant being a target. The convoy was already waiting when they got outside. Roman put her in the middle car, climbed in beside her, and the entire procession pulled out of the gates at high speed. Elena watched the estate disappear behind them, watched the city give way to suburbs and then to darkness. I'm sorry, Roman said quietly. For what? For not protecting you better, for letting them get close enough to threaten you. They didn't threaten me. You stopped them. They shouldn't have gotten within a mile of the house. His hands were clenched into fists. Someone talked. Someone told Viktor where to find us, how to approach, when security would be lightest. And when I find out who, they're going to wish they'd died with Volkov's man. Elena took his hand, uncurled his fingers, held on tight. His knuckles were bruised, probably from hitting someone. We're okay, she said. We're not okay. We're running. We're hiding. That's not okay. We're alive. That's what matters. Roman looked at her, and something in his expression cracked. You shouldn't have to live like this, running from safe house to safe house, watching me come home covered in blood, wondering if the next attack will be the one that actually succeeds. But I do live like this, because I love you. Elena squeezed his hand. And yes, it's terrifying. And yes, I wish you had a normal job where the worst thing that happened was office politics, but you don't. And I knew that when I said yes to marrying you. You could still walk away. I could, but I won't. Why not? Because loving you is worth the fear. Being with you is worth the danger. And learning to survive in your world is worth becoming someone I barely recognize. She touched his face. I'm not going anywhere, Roman. You're stuck with me. He pulled her close, buried his face in her hair. I don't deserve you. Probably not. But you're getting me anyway. They drove through the night, leaving the city and everything familiar behind. And Elena held Roman's hand and tried not to think about the gunshot, the blood, the men who had come to their home with violence in mind. Tried not to think about how close she'd come to losing everything before she'd even had a chance to really claim it. The safe house was 3 hours north, hidden at the end of a long dirt road surrounded by forest. It was smaller than the estate, but still substantial, all modern architecture and bulletproof glass. Roman showed her inside, into a bedroom that was simple but comfortable. We'll be here for a few days, he said. Maybe a week, until I can neutralize the Volkov threat permanently. What does that mean, neutralize? It means I'm going to make sure Viktor understands that coming after my family has consequences, permanent ones. Elena sat on the edge of the bed. You're going to kill him. I'm going to kill everyone who was involved in tonight's attack. Viktor, his lieutenants, anyone who knew about it and didn't stop it. Roman's voice was flat, matter of fact. This is what happens when someone crosses the line, Elena. This is the part of my world you haven't had to see yet. Until now. Until now. Elena looked at him, blood on his hands, fury in his eyes, every inch the monster people believed him to be. And underneath all that, The man who held her gently, who worried about her safety, who would burn the entire world to keep her protected. "Okay," she said. "Okay? Do what you need to do. I'll be here when you're done." Roman crossed to her, knelt in front of her so they were eye level. "You understand what I'm telling you? I'm going to go to war with the Volkov family. People are going to die. A lot of people. I understand. And you're okay with that?" Elena thought about it, really thought about it. Not the sanitized version she'd been telling herself, where she could love Roman while pretending his violence was something separate from who he was. But the real truth, the ugly truth, that loving him meant accepting all of him, including this. "I'm not okay with it," she said finally. "I hate that people have to die. I hate that you have to be the one who kills them. But I understand why you're doing it, and I'm not going to ask you to stop." That's a hell of a compromise. That's what love is sometimes. Accepting things you hate because the alternative is losing what you can't live without. Roman rested his forehead against her knees. "I'm going to keep you safe. Whatever it takes, whoever I have to destroy, I'm going to make sure you're safe." "I know. Even if it turns me into something you can't love anymore." "You're already something I shouldn't love," Elena said. "But I do anyway. And that's not going to change because you do what you've always done to survive in your world." He looked up at her, and she saw the war happening behind his eyes. The part of him that wanted to be better for her, fighting against the part that knew being better would get them both killed. "Get some sleep," he said finally. "We have a long few days ahead of us." He left her alone in the bedroom, and Elena lay down on the unfamiliar bed in the unfamiliar house and stared at the ceiling. Somewhere in the city they'd left behind, Viktor Volkov was probably celebrating his attack, believing he'd sent a message, proven his power. He had no idea what was coming for him. And Elena, lying in the dark with her heart still racing from the gunshot and the blood and the terrifying reminder of her own mortality, understood something new about the world she'd chosen. There were no happy endings here. No simple resolutions where everyone learned their lesson and walked away unharmed. There was only survival. And the question of what you were willing to become to achieve it. Elena woke to the sound of helicopters. She sat up in the unfamiliar bed, heart pounding, and looked out the window. Dawn was just breaking, painting the forest in shades of gray and gold. 2 black helicopters circled overhead before landing somewhere beyond the tree line. Roman's voice drifted up from downstairs, speaking in rapid Italian, then English, then Italian again. She got dressed and found him in what passed for a living room, surrounded by maps and laptops and men in tactical gear. He looked up when she entered, and whatever he saw on her face made him dismiss everyone with a single gesture. When they were alone, he said, "Victor is dead." Elena absorbed that. "When?" 3 hours ago, clean, quick. He was at his mistress's apartment, only 2 guards. My men were in and out in under 4 minutes. And his family? His brother is alive, for now. I'm giving him 24 hours to vacate the city with whatever he can carry. After that, anyone with the Volkov name who's still here becomes a target. Elena walked to the window, looked out at the forest. Somewhere out there, men were cleaning up the evidence of violence. Somewhere in the city, Viktor Volkov's mistress was probably discovering his body. And somewhere, Viktor's brother was scrambling to save whatever was left of his family. "How do you feel?" she asked. Roman came to stand beside her. Relieved, angry that it had to happen, satisfied that it's over. Is it over? The immediate threat? Yes. The larger question of whether someone else will try the same thing? That's never over, not in my world. Elena turned to face him. "I want to go home. The estate isn't safe yet. We need another day or 2 to sweep for—" "Not the estate, home. My old apartment." Roman's expression shifted. "Elena, just for a few hours. I need to see it. I need to remember what my life was like before all this." He looked like he wanted to argue, but something stopped him. Maybe he saw how much she needed this, or maybe he was too tired from a night of orchestrating murder to fight her on something that didn't matter. "Okay," he said, "but I'm coming with you, and we're bringing security." Roman, non-negotiable. They drove back to the city in the early morning light, the convoy smaller now, but still obvious. Elena's old apartment building looked exactly the same. Peeling paint, cracked sidewalk, the perpetual smell of garbage from the dumpster around back. Roman's men secured the building before letting them inside. Elena climbed the stairs to the third floor, pulled out the key she'd kept even after moving most of her stuff to the estate. The apartment was tiny. Studio layout, kitchenette in the corner, bathroom barely big enough to turn around in. But it had been hers. The first place she'd paid for entirely on her own, the first space where no one could tell her what to do or who to be. Roman stood in the doorway, too big for the small room, looking around at her life before him. "This is where you lived," he said, "for 3 years. Worked doubles at the diner, came home, collapsed on that couch that's older than I am." Elena sat on the couch in question. Springs creaked under her weight. "I was happy here. Poor, exhausted, barely scraping by, but happy." Roman sat beside her carefully, like he was afraid the furniture might collapse. "You want to come back?" "No. I want to remember that I could be happy with nothing, that I don't need the estate or the cars or the security guards to be okay." She looked at him. "I need to remember who I was so I don't completely lose her in who I'm becoming." "You think you're losing yourself." "I know I am. Every day a little bit more. I'm learning to think strategically, to see people as assets or threats, to use power the way you use it. And it's working. It's making me safer, stronger, harder to hurt. But it's also changing me into someone I'm not sure I like very much." Roman was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, "When I was 19, my father sat me down and told me I had 2 choices. I could be good or I could survive. He said the world didn't let people be both, not in the life we'd been born into. So I chose survival. And I've spent every day since then trying to figure out if he was right." "What have you decided?" "That he was mostly right, but not completely. Because I met you and you made me want to be good again, made me think maybe I could be both." Elena leaned her head on his shoulder. The couch smelled like her old life, like cheap detergent and the lavender candles she used to buy at the dollar store. "I don't want revenge anymore," she said. "On Diane, on Sabrina, on any of them. I just want to move forward, build something new that isn't defined by what they did to me." "Okay. Okay? That's it?" "That's it. You want to let it go, we let it go." Roman kissed the top of her head. "The boutique is already closed. Diane's reputation is destroyed. That's enough." "What about Sabrina? You gave her a choice. She made it. Her parents' restaurant is being handled through a third party. She'll never know it came from you unless you tell her." Elena closed her eyes. "I thought getting power would make me feel stronger, but mostly I just feel tired." "That's because power is exhausting. It requires constant vigilance, constant calculation. That's why most people who have it end up isolated. It's easier to trust no one than to constantly evaluate who deserves trust." "Is that what you want for me? To end up isolated like your mother?" "No. I want you to find a balance. Use power when you need to, but don't let it consume you. Stay connected to the person you were in this apartment, the one who is happy with nothing. Don't lose her completely." They sat there for a while longer, in Elena's old apartment with Roman's security guards stationed outside, and the morning sun streaming through windows she'd cleaned 100 times. Finally, Elena said, "I want to get married soon, not in 6 weeks. Now." Roman pulled back to look at her. "Now?" "Not this second, but soon. This week, maybe. Something small, just us, and a few people we actually care about. No spectacle, no politics, no performing for anyone." "What about the dress? Sarah said it would take weeks. I'll wear something else. Something simple. I don't need the perfect dress. I just need you." Roman studied her face. "You're sure?" "I'm sure. I'm tired of waiting, tired of planning, tired of letting other people's expectations dictate how we do this. I want to marry you while I still remember why I said yes in the first place." "Okay." "Okay?" "Okay. We'll get married this week. Small ceremony, just us and whoever matters. No estate, no guards everywhere, no performing." He smiled. "We'll do it your way." Elena kissed him, there on her old couch in her tiny apartment. And for the first time in days, she felt like herself again. They planned it in 48 hours. Roman found a small garden outside the city, private property owned by someone who owed him a favor. Sarah worked around the clock to finish a simpler dress, ivory silk without the elaborate lace, something Elena could actually move in. Jessica handled the flowers, simple wildflowers in mason jars. The guest list was 8 people. Marcus, who had been Roman's right hand for 15 years. Maria, who had treated Elena with kindness when no one else had. Sarah and Jessica, who had given Elena back her dignity. Teresa, the wife of one of Roman's associates, who had reached out after Isabella's disastrous visit with an offer of friendship that seemed genuine. And 2 others, people from Roman's world who had proven their loyalty over years of violence and betrayal. No Sabrina, no Isabella, no one who had looked at Elena and seen someone lesser. The morning of the wedding, Elena woke in the safe house alone. Roman had disappeared sometime before dawn, leaving a note. Traditional bad luck for me to see you before the ceremony. See you this afternoon. I love you. Teresa arrived around 10 with makeup and champagne. She was in her 40s, warm and practical, the kind of woman who had survived 2 decades in this world by being smart and adaptable. You're really doing this, Teresa said, helping Elena into the dress. I'm really doing this. No second thoughts? No wondering if you should run while you still can? Elena looked at herself in the mirror. The dress fit perfectly, simple and elegant. Her hair was loose, no elaborate styling. She wore the earrings her mother had left her, small pearls that had been a gift from Elena's father before he died. I have second thoughts every day, Elena said, about whether I'm strong enough, whether I'm making a mistake, whether I'm losing myself in his world, but I don't have second thoughts about loving him. That's good, because the love is what saves you. The love is what keeps you human when everything else is trying to make you into something else. Teresa handed her a small bouquet of wildflowers. Roman is a good man, Elena. Dangerous, yes. Violent, yes. But good in the ways that matter. How do you know? Because I've watched him for years, watched him make hard choices, watched him protect his people, watched him try to be something more than what his father was. And I've never seen him look at anyone the way he looks at you. They drove to the garden in a single car, no convoy, no armed escorts visible. The garden was small, tucked into a valley with mountains rising on all sides. Wildflowers grew in profusion, and a simple arbor had been set up under an oak tree. Roman was already there, wearing a dark suit, no tie. He looked nervous, which Elena had never seen before. When he saw her, his expression transformed into something so open and vulnerable it made her chest ache. The ceremony was simple. No officiant, just them and their witnesses. They'd written their own vows, kept them private from everyone else. Elena went first. I promise to love you even when I'm scared, even when your world feels too big and dangerous and complicated. I promise to stay human even when it would be easier to become hard. I promise to remind you that you're more than what you do, that you're capable of goodness even when goodness seems impossible. And I promise to never stop challenging you to be better than what the world expects. Roman's voice was rough when he spoke. I promise to protect you without smothering you, to give you power without forcing you to use it, to let you stay soft in a hard world, and to destroy anyone who tries to take that softness from you. I promise to love you for who you are, not who I need you to be. And I promise to spend every day trying to deserve you, even though I know I never will. They exchanged rings, simple gold bands with no stones or engravings. Marcus handed over the marriage license they'd rushed through using connections Elena didn't want to think about too closely. And just like that, it was done. Elena Marlowe became Elena DeLuca. The reception was in the garden, catered food spread on folding tables, champagne in plastic cups. Someone had brought a speaker, and music played while 8 people celebrated 2 people who had somehow found each other across the vast distance between their worlds. Roman pulled Elena onto a flat patch of grass and danced with her, swaying to music that was too slow for the upbeat song playing. She rested her head against his chest and felt his heartbeat, steady and strong. Happy? He asked. Yeah, you? Terrified. Elena pulled back to look at him. Of what? Of failing you, of not being able to protect you from everything that's coming, of watching you slowly realize you made a mistake marrying into this life. I already know what I married into. The violence, the danger, the constant vigilance. I'm choosing it anyway. You shouldn't have to choose it, but I do, because loving you means accepting all of you, even the parts that scare me. Elena touched his face. You're not going to fail me, Roman. You're going to keep being exactly who you are, and I'm going to keep loving you for it. He kissed her, there in the garden with their small group of witnesses, and Elena felt something settle in her chest, a certainty she hadn't felt before. This was right. Hard, complicated, maybe even dangerous, but right. Later, after the champagne was gone and the guests had left, Roman and Elena stood alone in the garden watching the sunset. What happens now? Elena asked. Now we go back to the estate, resume our lives. You finish planning your wedding dress pickup with Sarah, I finish cleaning up the Volkov situation, and we figure out how to be married. But that's it? No honeymoon? I thought we could take a few weeks once things settle down. Go somewhere quiet, no guards, no business, just us. I'd like that. Roman's phone buzzed. He glanced at it, frowned. What? Marcus. He says there's something I need to see. Roman looked at her. It's about Diane. They drove back to the estate as the sun finished setting. The house had been swept, declared secure, but Elena still felt a chill walking back inside. The blood had been cleaned from the foyer, but she knew where it had been, knew that men had died here, trying to get to her. Marcus met them in Roman's study with a tablet. Congratulations, he said to Elena. Welcome to the family officially. Thank you, Marcus. He handed the tablet to Roman. Diane Winters filed for bankruptcy this morning. The boutique is officially closed, but there's more. Roman scrolled through whatever was on the screen, his expression unreadable. Then he handed it to Elena. It was an article from a local business journal. The headline read, Maison Etoile owner Diane Winters faces multiple discrimination lawsuits. Elena read quickly. Apparently, after news of what happened to Elena spread, other former customers and employees had come forward with their own stories of discrimination and mistreatment. Women turned away for being too fat, too old, too poor. Staff members fired for being pregnant or taking sick days, a pattern of cruelty that had been hidden for years behind the boutique's exclusive reputation. She destroyed herself, Elena said quietly. She destroyed herself the moment she made cruelty her business model, Roman corrected. What happened to you just gave everyone else permission to speak up. Is this your doing? No, this is purely organic. People saw what happened, saw that someone finally stood up to her, and decided they didn't have to be silent anymore. Elena handed the tablet back. I don't feel good about this. You shouldn't. Watching someone lose everything is never pleasant, even when they deserve it. Roman put the tablet on his desk. But you didn't do this to her. She did it to herself over years of treating people like they were beneath her. What about Jessica? Will she be named in the lawsuits? Marcus shook his head. Jessica quit before the lawsuits were filed, and from what I understand, several of the plaintiffs specifically mentioned that she tried to intervene on their behalf. Good. Marcus left them alone. Roman pulled Elena into his arms, held her close. You're too soft for this world, he said. Probably, but that's not changing. I know. That's why I love you. They stayed at the estate for the next few weeks, settling into married life. Elena learned the routines of the house, the schedules of the security teams, the subtle ways Roman conducted business from home so he could stay close to her. Sarah delivered the original dress, the one with the elaborate lace that would have been perfect for a big wedding. Elena hung it in the closet and looked at it sometimes, wondering about the version of herself who had wanted that kind of ceremony. That girl seemed very far away now. Sabrina's parents' restaurant reopened with a new lease and updated equipment. Elena saw photos on social media. Sabrina helping her parents at the grand reopening, smiling but tired. She never reached out, and Elena didn't either. Some doors, once closed, stayed that way. Isabella sent a wedding gift, an antique vase worth more than Elena's old apartment. No note, no acknowledgement that she'd missed her own son's wedding, just the vase, beautiful and cold. Roman put it in storage. 3 months after the wedding, Roman came home early from a meeting and found Elena in the garden, sitting on a bench with a book she wasn't reading. "What's wrong?" he asked. "Nothing, just thinking." "About?" Elena closed the book. "About how much has changed in a few months. I went from being nobody to being somebody people are afraid of. I went from working tables to being able to make phone calls that destroy businesses. I went from Elena Marlowe to Elena DeLuca." "Do you regret it?" "No. But I miss parts of who I was. The parts that believed people were basically good. The parts that thought hard work and kindness were enough." Roman sat beside her. "Those parts aren't gone. They're just evolving." "Into what?" "Into something stronger. You can still believe in goodness while understanding that not everyone deserves your kindness. You can still work hard while accepting that sometimes power matters more than effort. You're not losing who you were, Elena. You're adding layers. What if the layers bury the original person completely? They won't. You know how I know?" "How?" "Because you're sitting here worried about it. The people who completely lose themselves don't have that awareness. They just become what the world demands and never look back." He took her hand. "You're going to be okay. We're going to be okay." Elena wanted to believe him. And maybe, in that moment, she did. A year after the disaster at Maison Étoile, Elena got a letter. It was from Diane, written from somewhere in the Midwest where she'd apparently relocated after losing everything in the city. "Dear Mrs. DeLuca, I don't expect forgiveness. I don't even expect you to read this, but I needed to write it anyway, for myself if nothing else. What I did to you was wrong. It was cruel, petty, and revealed the worst parts of who I'd become. I spent 15 years building a business on the idea that some people mattered and others didn't. That wealth and status were the only things that determined worth. And I believed it, right up until the moment my own lack of those things made me worthless in everyone else's eyes. I'm working at a department store now, in the bridal section, helping women find dresses they can afford. It's humbling. It's also teaching me things I should have learned decades ago. I'm not asking for anything. I just wanted you to know that I'm sorry, and that what happened to me, while painful, was probably necessary. I hope you're happy. I hope your wedding was everything you wanted it to be. Sincerely, Diane Winters." Elena read the letter 3 times, then showed it to Roman. "What do you think?" she asked. "I think she's learned something. Whether it's genuine or performative, I can't say. But the fact that she wrote it at all means something." "Should I respond? Do you want to?" Elena thought about it. About the woman who had humiliated her, who had tried to make her feel small and worthless. About the woman who had lost everything and was now working in a department store, facing daily the same treatment she'd once inflicted on others. "No," Elena said finally. "I don't need to respond, but I'm not going to throw it away either." She filed the letter in a drawer, a reminder of where she'd been and what she'd survived. 2 years after marrying Roman, Elena started a foundation. It funded small businesses owned by women, particularly women who'd faced discrimination or been denied traditional funding. She named it after her mother, kept her own involvement relatively quiet, and worked with people who understood that money didn't have to come with strings attached. Roman supported it completely, even when some of his associates questioned why he was letting his wife give away millions to strangers. "Because it makes her happy," he told them, "and her happiness is worth more than any amount of money." The foundation helped Jessica open her own small bridal studio, helped Sabrina's parents expand their restaurant into a second location, helped dozens of other women who had been told they didn't matter, that they weren't worth investing in, that they should accept whatever scraps the world offered. Elena didn't do it for recognition or gratitude. She did it because she remembered what it felt like to be invisible, and she had the power now to make sure other people didn't stay that way. One afternoon, 3 years after the boutique incident, Elena was going through foundation applications when she came across one that made her stop. The applicant was Diane Winters. She was applying for funding to open a small boutique that would specifically serve plus-size brides and women with limited budgets. Her business plan was detailed, thoughtful, and included extensive anti-discrimination policies. Elena stared at the application for a long time. Roman found her still sitting there an hour later, the application in her hands. "What are you thinking?" he asked. I'm thinking that people can change, that cruelty doesn't have to be permanent, that maybe the worst thing we can do is decide someone is beyond redemption. Are you going to fund it? I don't know. Part of me wants to. Part of me thinks she doesn't deserve it. Elena looked up at him. What would you do? I'd probably deny it, but I'm not you, and my way isn't always the right way. Roman sat beside her. What does your gut tell you? My gut tells me that holding on to anger is exhausting, that I've spent 3 years building something positive, and denying this just because of old hurt would undermine everything I'm trying to do. Then you know your answer. Elena approved the funding. She never told Diane it came from her foundation, never reached out, never expected acknowledgement. 6 months later, she saw an article about a new boutique opening that specialized in inclusive, affordable bridal wear. The owner was quoted as saying, "Every woman deserves to feel beautiful on her wedding day, regardless of her size, her budget, or her background." I learned that lesson the hard way, but I learned it. Elena cut out the article and put it with Diane's letter, 2 pieces of evidence that people were capable of change if the world gave them space to do it. 5 years after marrying Roman, Elena stood in their garden watching their daughter play in the wildflowers. Her name was Sophia, and she had Roman's gray eyes and Elena's stubborn determination. She was 3 years old, fearless, and already showing signs of the strong will that would serve her well in the world she'd been born into. Roman came out of the house, coffee in hand, and stood beside Elena. "She's going to be trouble," he said. "Good. The world could use more trouble from women who refuse to be quiet." Spoken like her mother. Elena smiled. "I've been thinking about something." "What's that?" "About the boutique, about everything that happened, about how angry I was, how humiliated, how much I wanted revenge. And I'm glad I didn't get it. Not the way I originally wanted. I'm glad I learned there were other ways to handle power, ways that didn't require me to become someone I'd hate." Roman was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "You changed me, you know. Made me think about what kind of man I wanted our daughter to see when she looked at me. Made me want to be more than just someone people feared." "Are you?" "I'm trying. Some days more successfully than others." Elena leaned against him. "That's all any of us can do. Try to be better than we were yesterday." They stood there watching Sophia chase butterflies through the garden, and Elena thought about the girl she'd been, walking into that boutique expecting kindness and finding cruelty instead. That girl was gone, but she'd left behind something important, the belief that dignity mattered more than power, that kindness was stronger than cruelty, that the measure of a person wasn't what they could take from the world, but what they chose to give back. Elena DeLuca had learned to survive in a world of violence and strategic thinking. She'd learned to use power, to read people, to protect herself and the people she loved. But she'd also learned that surviving didn't mean losing your humanity, that you could be strong and soft, strategic and kind, powerful and vulnerable, that the real victory wasn't in destroying the people who hurt you, it was in refusing to let them destroy the best parts of who you were. Sophia ran over, clutching a handful of wildflowers she'd picked. "Mama, look, pretty!" Elena knelt down, accepted the flowers like they were precious jewels. "They're beautiful, baby, just like you." Sophia beamed, then ran off to pick more flowers. Roman helped Elena stand. "Any regrets?" Elena looked at the garden, the house, the life they'd built together. Complicated, messy, sometimes dangerous, but undeniably theirs. "Not a single one," she said. And she meant it, because the girl who'd walked into Maison Étoile 5 years ago had been looking for a dress. What she'd found instead was herself, in all her flawed and complicated glory. She'd found strength she didn't know she had, love she didn't think she deserved, and a future she'd never imagined. She'd found that the world was cruel, but not always. That people could change, but not always. That power could corrupt, but not always. She'd found that the most important choice you could make was not about avoiding pain or seeking revenge or protecting yourself at all costs. It was about deciding who you wanted to be in the face of all that, and then having the courage to become that person, even when the world tried to make you into something else. Elena DeLuca had made her choice, and she was still choosing it every single day.